Good morning. It's October 11th, Monday. Wish you all a thoughtful Indigenous Peoples Day. Uh, I've been sort of giving myself a break from these talks for a while, but also waiting for something to come to mind that seemed worth talking about. And this morning I got into a conversation with a couple of Potter friends about the subject of tipping and specifically over tipping. So, one of the consequences of the COVID crisis has been this increased awareness of the vulnerability of, in particular, restaurant wait staff financially, and the degree to which we've been underpaying them for decades. I won't go into the specifics of that, but it brings up, to me anyway, this question of, what's a normal tip, what's a generous tip, and what is over tipping. And I remember years and years ago there was a interview with the comedian George Burns. I think he was only like 99 at the time, but his persona was pretty well set. And the interviewer asked him about living in Palm Springs and how that was. And he admitted that it had its problems. I mean, in part because it was just a lot of rich people, and one of the challenges was to get someone to come out to your house and like do plumbing repair or anything like that, because obviously it wasn't going to be the other rich people doing it. But he had never had any problem because he had made it a point to always tip $100 bill. So all those people, the plumbers, the electricians, whatever, they were delighted to get phone calls from him, and they would come straight out and so forth and so on. And I don't even know what the actual bill for the service would have been, but the tip was a neat $100 bill. And there's a certain clarity of that. And I've talked to people who have been in the business, and I get how it can be convenient to like leave the change or something like that, or to calculate the exact amount. But if your tip involves pennies, if your pay involves pennies, it's not really as praising as one might expect. And so I've been always, trying to tip, even with a credit card purchase, in a solid number. And this morning, in fact, for breakfast, we tipped a straight $10 bill. There's nothing skimpy about that on a breakfast, unless it was a huge breakfast. But it was a moderately generous tip, and it was a flat, easy, slip it in your pocket $10 bill. And I want to recommend it. It's you're trying to show appreciation, and you're trying, in some degree, to make it easy for that person to have a better day. Okay, so I mentioned over tipping. Okay, was George Burns over tipping? Probably. The phrase over tipping often comes up in relation to American tourists in Europe, or at least it used to. And I was trying to think, okay, now why would it be called over tipping? Now, I don't know. For instance, I don't know the numbers, whether it was just because it was higher than the local standard, and thus made the local tippers seem cheap. Or maybe it was tipping in situations where tipping wasn't even required. Some of the restaurants, the salaries are high enough, it's the fixed price or whatever, the tip is built in. One of my concerns is it tipping a lot by way of apology for your rude behavior, when really it would have been better just to not have rude behavior? So there's a version of a large tip being sort of a defective apology. I mean, it's better than no apology at all, but I think what I'm hoping is that it will become much more normal in our culture to overtip, or to at least change the standard where you feel all praiseworthy because you get left a 20% tip. Particularly on a small tab, If you've gone and just ordered a slice of pie and coffee, it's not the wait person's fault that you're not spending a lot of money. Uh, and you didn't spend a lot of money. So potentially you have more of your money available to apply to a tip. I know there are some people that'll, tip a certain minimum amount regardless of the tab. Okay. All right, that's all cool. The other thing we can do with improving our tipping is to expand the variety of people we tip. Uh, I must admit, as a younger person, it never occurred to me to leave a tip for a hotel maid. And it's only been in the last decade or so where I will leave a thank you note in a $5 bill or something like that. Um, I have occasionally gotten tips as a potter. I certainly never expected, but it's always a delight. Anyway, tipping. Consider what you can do to do better. It's one of the easier ways to improve the life of people around you. Have a good day.